your future death, not just any death, your future death will come and hunt you down.
Look, I loved Whistle. When I saw Whistle, what grabbed me right away was how much it leans into the characters as much as it does the horror. The idea that you're being not the idea that you're not being chased by a monster, but you're being chased by your own death immediately really got under my skin. Corin, first of all, for you, this concept is amazing. What is it about the concept that made you want to jump in immediately? And same thing for you, Sophie.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, it was Owen Edgerton, the writer, to credit him. He'd come up with this mythology surrounding an already very mysterious ancient real artifact, the death whistle. Got it here for you if you want to have a little
Oh
look.
wow, that's awesome.
And it was just, as a horror director, you're always looking for fresh ideas or things you haven't seen before. And although we've seen lots of different subgenres of horror and we've seen the cursed artifact movies, I hadn't seen a movie surrounding this particular one of the death whistle, and I hadn't seen this really, I think, quite unique mythology because it isn't just any old death. Like you said, it's your own fate, whatever that is going to be. You're going to find out, and it's going to come early. And that was quite a chilling and quite sort of profound, without sounding pretentious, something to kind of think after the movie of sort of like, well, we haven't got all the time in the world. We've got the time we've got in life, and that, we should try and live it to the fullest. And that's sort of this underlying message of memento mori, remember that you will die, that was also attractive to me, as well as these kind of elaborate death sequences.
Which are incredible. How about for yourself, Sophie? What was it about the concept that made you want to jump in?
I mean, I think it was somewhat the idea of memento mori, but I think it was like despite all the horror and the gore, there was something so humane about this story and the idea of facing death straight on. I think it's a subject matter that we're so scared to approach as a society, and we're always trying to delay it and push it back. I mean, yeah, even as like physically, we're scared to look old. We're scared to we have this concept of youth that we want to keep forever. Um, and so I thought it was really interesting in this that the idea behind the story is to actually make peace with the fact that you're going to die in order to be able to live your life to its fullest and to remember that your livelihood hangs on by a thread and that it's important never for it to be taken for granted. And I think that acknowledging that death is coming is a constant reminder of that. And there's something actually quite beautiful in that. So I found that this story had a nice balance of the gore and the thrill and the horrific events, but yet through all of that shone a lot of light and actual softness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is really, I felt like I was just attached to the characters as I was for the horror that was on film. Now, Corn, for you, this really felt like an old school horror movie to me, but one that really invests in characters. How early did you know that the emotional side had to carry just as much weight as the scares?
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you felt that way. It's just really important to me when looking at any project, whether it's one of my own or one I'm reading, that the opportunity for that kind of balance is there, that you're going to care for the characters, that there are, dimensional characters and emotion. I wanted it to be horror with heart and not kind of horror with cynical characters that you hate. So Owen, to his credit, the writer had crafted these characters, which obviously on the surface, fit into those types of high school characters, which has been inspired by The Breakfast Club and things like that. But I love that they all kind of have different arcs and they don't necessarily go the way you might expect. And yeah, in terms of the old school, it was an opportunity for me to maybe pour my kind of inspirations from things like The Breakfast Club or Nightmare on Elm Street or The Lost Boys or Fright Night or Donnie Darko into a kind of contemporary set American high school movie. And I'd sort of always fancied doing that, and this became that opportunity.
You did an incredible job with it. Now, Sophie, Ellie is warm, she's kind, a little more settled in her plans, while Chris is more chaotic and reckless. What was the fun part about playing someone who's so drawn to the complete opposite of herself?
I mean, I think first of all, it was fun to play a character that's unlike the ones I've played before, that's actually kind of endearing and lovable. And that's the more rational in the group. Um, but it's beautiful because within all of like everything that's great about Ellie, that she has such a set idea what her future is going to look like, and she's um somewhat of a people pleaser, and stands by her values and has a great set of values. Like there is something a bit rigid about that, and I think she may have lost herself perhaps a little bit along the way. And so to find someone like Chris who is just so refreshing, and who she thinks that she's flawed, but on the contrary, Ellie with her pure heart sees none of that. She only sees beauty in the pain and in the sadness that Chris is going through, and finds a great sense of resilience. And these two characters coming together are really what's going to bring out the best in each other, and what they're going to find a strength in each other that they couldn't have found on their own.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Corin, for you, this movie, it's very physical, practical effects, stunts, things happening right in front of the camera. Why was it important for you that that fear lived in the actors' bodies and not just in the visual effects?
Well, I think I've kind of grown up in an age of the kind of movies that I grew up on, and what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old was make monsters, and I trained in sculpture and art and prosthetics and animatronics and stop motion. And I just firmly believe human beings connect with other human beings, and we connect with real things and stuff we can touch and
Yeah.
feel. And the best way that you can achieve that on film is by doing that. But that isn't to say we didn't use also visual effects and some CGI, and that is also, you use it all in a certain way to get the best out of both worlds. And so there's, I guess, all of the different death sequences or perishments, as I've been calling them, all require a sort of different mix, a different like recipe to pull off an illusion. And that illusion, I'm trying to make it feel, visceral and something that will get under your skin or make you gasp or cover your eyes or find kind of fascinating because you don't really know what you've seen, and it wouldn't feel the same if you just saw a sort of CG effect that
Yep.
was felt too smooth and too perfect in a way. So it's trying to get the edge, and in the filmmaking, and going on real sets with actors doing real stunts in all different kinds of weathers, with practical effects and puppetry and all sorts of fun.
That, yeah, and it shows on screen. I tell you, you did such a great job of blending the practical and the visual effects.
Thank you.
Beautiful, great job, Sophie. I want to switch gears for a quick second. Fans are already looking ahead for the next season of Heated Rivalry. It's the biggest show in my household right now. Now, without spoiling anything, what excites you the most about stepping back into that world after doing something as dark and intense as this?
I mean, it was the best set I've ever been on in my life, to be honest. It's like, yes, the story, but like the gang, the boys have become like my best friends. The like director, Jacob Tierney, is like, I've never seen someone direct so effortlessly. Like he would hang out with us like we were catching up over dinner whilst like directing an entire crew, and everything just ran so seamlessly. And there's just so much like passion and love, and it was like a real like love fest. Like walking onto the set, I've never felt so at home. And yeah, so just because like I'm invested in this story as much as like the fans are, to be honest. Like I'm in love with these two characters. I
Same.
want them to get married. I want them to have like kids, whatever they want to do. Like I'm so here for it. I'm their biggest cheerleader and supporter. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what unfolds of these characters because I haven't read the books. But I'm also just excited to get back to shooting with them.
Well, I'm excited to see what's next too. Now, look, Corin, last question I have for you is each character's death is tied to the people that they are. When you were designing those sequences, how did you make sure that none of them felt repetitive or interchangeable?
Great question, and that was a big part of the attraction and challenge, and as a lover of horror movies, we're always trying to sort of challenge ourselves to not repeat what you've seen before, and of course that's virtually impossible in some ways, but you're trying to put new fresh spins or create visuals that will be sort of affecting or stunning or shocking. And so, Owen had laid out these different fates in the script. And what was great about this mythology being so sort of simple and elegant and chilling is, your future death, not just any death, your future death will come and hunt you down. So once we knew what those predicaments were for those characters, it sort of naturally informs a big aspect of, but some of them were quite abstract, really, of sort of how someone ends up the way you finally meet yourself in that moment. So, I was just very conscious of exactly what you said, trying to make sure that none of the deaths were the same as another, almost like they were all different subgenres of horror. So there's sort of more body horror deaths, more possession-y deaths, more physical, monstrous looking deaths. And that was part of the fun. But then it was trying to also create an almost like a death arc, an arc of death that, made sure that they would build in such a way and that you'd still find something scary at a certain point in the movie or shocking. So yeah, it was a fun challenge, and it involved the whole team, all of the crew, props, practical effects, physical effects, puppetry, production design, obviously the actors, and then the doubles and the contortionists and the stunts, and everyone having to like muck in together to pull off an illusion and visual effects.
Well, you knocked it out of the park. And Sophie, great job. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Joseph. See
Have a
you.
great day.